Welcome to the Better Business Beat, your go-to source for insight, stories, and conversations that matter to our community. I'm your host, Mechele Mills, and each week we explore topics which impact the way we live, work, and do business here in East Texas. From smart consumer tips and local success stories to practical advice for navigating today's challenges, we are here to keep you informed, empowered, and connected. So, whether you're a consumer, a business owner, or someone who loves supporting local organizations, this show is your front row seat to the people, trends, and ideas shaping our region. Today on the Better Business Beat, we are delighted to welcome David Domm. David is an entrepreneur, author, and digital problem solver with more than 20 years of experience doing business, helping businesses grow online. He helped launch a multi-million-dollar company, authored 2 books, and even hosted an online radio show interviewing leaders like Les Brown and Lindsay Wagner. After escaping the California wildfires in 2018, David returned to East Texas and became an early adopter of AI technology. This is going to be a great show, shifting his focus to supporting small businesses. He and his partner Christine founded the Small Business Advantage Group and the Best of Tyler and East Texas online community. Both of those are created to connect, educate, and spotlight local businesses. And David now helps organizations adopt and improve online marketing in ways that are accessible and affordable. He is passionate about innovation and loves developing tools that help businesses succeed. David, thank you for joining us. So happy to have you here.
Pleasure to be here with you.
Awesome. So let's get started with just a little bit of background. You've been building online since the AOL dial-up days. I can still hear that tone. It's so familiar to me. How did that early start shape the work that you do today?
You know, it actually has been a wild ride because, as you imagine, we just talked about technology. It's changed so much. And getting in the very beginning is good. And we get to kind of ride the wave. But yeah, helping businesses and building things, actual websites and things online has been something that we've been doing ongoing.
So, I can remember my very first computer. I think it was an Acer, I don't remember. But yeah, so I was probably 26 years old. That tells you kind of how old I am. Um, and it's gone. I mean, I remember back then, it took a couple minutes to be able to get online. And now if it takes more than 3 seconds, you go somewhere else. So have you been, working with, uh, what have you been doing since that time? Like, how did you kind of get into this?
Well, I'll start kind of where we are now and go back a little bit because
Good.
I watched during the 2020, 2022 pandemic, issue, and I watched 100,000 businesses plus go under, and during that time, and it was challenging to watch because of the the skills I have, which is really just being able to help businesses do better online and be more efficient. And so that led me into the AI world as soon as it became available to the public.
Gotcha.
And back in from now until 95-ish, been building websites and helping people with email ads, whatever, you name it, whatever was the most necessary thing for the business.
hmm
But everything's changed. So the tools have changed and improved, but it's pretty much the same story.
Okay.
Visibility is key.
Yeah, the same issues have been around since back then too. So yeah, absolutely. So you made the move back to East Texas after the California wildfires. How did that experience lead you into the work that you're doing today with Omni AI Systems and consulting?
We started the Best of Tyler brands, which includes a Facebook group and a community directory, as an opportunity for businesses to have free resources to promote themselves and get visible. And then again, the AI accessibility happened a few years ago, barely just a few years ago, and I jumped in that immediately and started building tools. And now we're able to help businesses implement some of those tools as well.
Awesome. So you've helped businesses across so many different industries. What kind of patterns did you see that pulled you specifically toward AI consulting?
Yeah, that's a good question. We literally have considered renaming the business Omni AI Consulting and Systems to put it in the right order because at this point, there's so much to learn and there's so many things for the business owners to implement. That consulting piece is huge with a discovery to kind of figure out what's really going on. Processes and systems that are being used now, what we found is that depending on the size of the business, the more employees and the more, you know, the bigger the company, the more problems there are to solve. But the consulting piece is really huge. We have to find out. It's like going to the doctor and him just writing a prescription without knowing your symptoms. We really have to dive in and see, what needs to be done, what can be done, and then go from there and create a little bit of a growth plan.
Right? There's no cookie cutter way to do it, right? Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah. So we're really in an interesting moment with technology. What makes this time so important for businesses when it comes to AI?
Yeah, it's there's an early adoption benefit, and the adoption curve has it's been around forever. But I remember we just talked about back in the day, people were asking things like, "Why do I need a website? I could just why do I need email? I'll just call." So that adoption now of being able to systematize and automate some of the repetitive tasks, in my opinion, I don't think it's about taking people's jobs. I really think it's about giving the employees and individuals more tools to be able to automate some of the repetitive stuff and then focus on some of the more important things.
Yeah, so it saves me probably 20 hours a week, you know. I actually spoke with an economist, one that comes to, well-known economist that comes to East Texas regularly, and when we asked him, is AI going to take jobs? He said it's actually not going to. People are just going to learn different. We're going to need more people in different types of jobs, you know. Hopefully that's encouraging to people who are worried about AI taking jobs. We're just going to have more people that need to learn how to use AI and repair the systems and maintain the systems that help it to do its thing. A lot of people feel unsure or intimidated by AI. Why do you believe that right now is the right time for business owners to start learning about it?
It takes a little bit of time to, just like anything else, if we've never done something before, it's going to be uncomfortable. So as soon as we jump in, and there's never really a right time or a perfect time to do most things. Most of the things that we do that are efficient or that we, succeed in are things that we just take action, and imperfect action is really, the way to go. And I mean
Yeah.
that by it's time to start learning because I guess business owners get an opportunity to decide how much they want to learn because technically we can set pretty much everything up as long as they're cooperative or they have a point person that we can work with. We can set everything up and they don't have to really learn too much. The employees are a different story. I feel like now is that time. Someone said AI is not going to take the jobs, but people that are using AI are going to take the jobs from people that aren't. I
Correct.
feel pretty confident that that's the case. So I think anybody and everybody, as a business owner, I think it's important to start learning now because the sooner you start learning, the sooner you can start trying to actually use it, implement it, and get the benefits from it.
Yeah, we had a workshop at our office, and the speaker said exactly that. Somebody asked, is AI going to take over, replace attorneys? And they said no, but attorneys who use AI are going to replace the attorneys who do not use AI, and basically fill in the blank. Whatever you do, if you're not using AI, you will be replaced by somebody who does. So, totally agree with that. Um, what do you say to a small business owner who thinks that AI is only for big companies or tech people?
I think we're in a very unique time where what we focus on is being able to bring the tools, the same tools that an enterprise size company would use to the local business owner. And the difference is if you can, you just mentioned it saves you, 20 hours a week. I would say at least it saves me that much time too. That's a big number. That's like half of a regular work week for people that work 40 hours. But it's important to start utilizing it and then see where it can be implemented. It's very possible. When we do our discovery calls and we actually do the audit for businesses, we may find that there's only maybe one or two things that might need to be implemented. Whereas with some of the bigger companies, they might need a lot more things implemented. But we're going to be straight with everyone and just tell them, you don't really need this right now, or you don't need a full implementation. Whereas we might even, as a consulting, thing, just tell them, look, start using this, and this, and we can automate this one process, but you don't need to automate everything, or we don't need to go full blown into a whole system. So it's really, like we said, it's not a cookie cutter, but a local business or a small business can actually have access to the tools without spending too much money, that an enterprise or a large company can use now.
Yeah, agreed. Everybody on my staff, they are required to uh, use AI to make their jobs more efficient because that helps us to do what we need to be doing. It helps us to focus more on building relationships with businesses, spending that one-on-one time with them. So I definitely any small business that is afraid to jump in, I highly encourage you to just jump in and try. Because the longer you wait, the more behind you're going to be, and the more your competition is just going to have that advantage. So, for those, let's talk about a little bit about your business and what you do. For those who may not be familiar, what does Omni AI Systems and Consulting actually, like a little more detail, like what kind of things do you do for businesses?
We could take a couple of just examples of processes that we might implement for people. Obviously, the consulting is number one. We do the discovery. We learn all the things that we need to. What does the process look like? What product or service is being offered or sold? After that, how it goes through the system, if you will, from fulfillment, backing up all the way to marketing. So there are so many different ways to do it, but I'll give you a couple of examples. If somebody has, let's say, a business that is service based, maybe a roofing company or a plumbing company or something of that nature, especially like when there's storms. I'll just give you an example. Like when there's storms that come through, in East Texas, we have those, and it's impossible for a roofer or a plumber or even a tree service and some of these companies to keep up with all of the calls that come at those strategic or those specific times. So you can have AI now, which sounds like a real person, answer the calls 24/7. So you could have them answer the calls all day, or you could have them answer the calls just after hours. And when that happens, the AI can literally book appointments. It could do everything, and that way, that person doesn't go to the next business once they don't get an answer from the client. Which is huge.
Yeah.
We know that if somebody doesn't respond within a pretty reasonable time, they say 5 minutes, but really 60 seconds. If someone can respond quickly, they have a real good chance of getting that business. Whereas anybody can just click to the next person on the Google business page and get what they need. If there's no response, that's a problem. So we have simple things like missed call text back, where someone will get a text message if the call is missed, and then at least they feel they weren't ignored. So there are a lot of services, even like ads. If someone's placing ads, let's say on Facebook, and the leads are coming in, and someone has to get back to those leads, we could literally have a phone call made to the lead within 60 seconds and do whatever someone that a human being would do for them. So those are just a few things that actually have a big impact and move the needle. There's a lot of little things as far as repetitive tasks and processes within each business that can be improved.
That's amazing. I know so many businesses that could really take advantage of that, especially, there are certain times of year where our businesses are just flooded with calls. And it is really hard to keep up, and that is one of their pain points is during those busy seasons. How do I keep up? How do I how do I maintain a good experience with the people that are, contacting me? Because that's so important nowadays. And then follow up, and how do I continue that relationship with my customers after I've done the job? So that's amazing that you guys can do that. What are some of the other more common challenges that you see for small and mid-sized businesses? What are they facing right now?
I think most of it is just being afraid. I think intimidated. People are intimidated by it, and it's real easy to put things off. It's just like we
Sure.
talked about.
We're busy too,
Yep, everybody's busy, and there's only so many hours in the day, and so I think once somebody can actually just do a discovery call, just actually have the conversation, then they understand a little bit more. That's the biggest challenge, probably, is the intimidation factor. Some of the obviously smaller businesses may, if a few $100 a month is gonna put them in a bad way, then it's probably not time, But that would be the only other challenge. So we're trying to provide services for every size business that we can. But I think just taking the first step is usually the most intimidating.
But if you think about it, a few $100s a month, the ROI on that going to be more than that, I would imagine. Long term, having a customer and keeping that customer long term. I mean, there's so much value in that. So I would say just like don't think of right now. Think of the big picture for any business that's deciding whether or not to begin using these platforms. So let's talk about some of the new partnerships that you've recently established, one with Better Business Bureau, yay. So you've been working with chambers of commerce and now with us. What kind of things are you teaching our members about AI and automation?
Yeah, we're really excited actually. Now with the BBB partnership, we teach and we do workshops with the chambers. We try to educate as much as we can. What I found throughout the years of doing online marketing is that social media and those social media, LinkedIn, the big names, the platforms that people post on and advertise on are a great tool. What we've been really leaning into is helping businesses. I love what you said about it's more of a long-term focus, because if you think about 1 to 2 years out, what are we doing to make sure that what the content and the things we're actually working on today are still alive in 6 months or a year from now? So we're leaning into helping founders, CEOs, experts, even authors create digital assets that they own. And that's through things like podcasts and newsletters. And the problem with that most of the time is that, again, there's so many hours in the day. People don't have time to do that work. So we're leaning into providing services where we can actually create that custom podcast and newsletters for the businesses. And with technology now, we couldn't do this literally just probably even 6 months or a year ago. But now we can go a little bit further. I don't know if you want me to go into details on that.
No, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah. So we can actually clone, let's say, a CEO's voice right now. And by cloning their voice, I mean, it sounds like them. You've heard a sample of your voice. And so it actually sounds like them. But by doing that, we could take all of their content from their websites, if they've written a book or any white papers, even LinkedIn, anywhere that they have content or anything that they want to actually talk about, get across. We create thought leadership type content for them in digestible segments, if you will. We're leaning into like 5 to 7 minutes, maybe 10 at the most, where we create these podcast episodes where it's their voice, it's coming from them in their voice, and they get to do it, but they don't have to sit in front of a microphone like we're doing right now.
Right.
They don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to actually show up. So we can clone the voice and then feed it to our AI, create the episodes, and then even help them with creating the podcast itself, the artwork, doing everything, and then publishing that to 20 plus platforms, and then taking each of those episodes and creating newsletter like articles out of that with video and really cool stuff. So it's quite extraordinary what
I
we can
love
do
it.
now.
I love things that are efficient, and so I really love that system. So I'm excited about us being able to offer that to our business community. I think it's going to be great and so helpful, and I think it's really going to give those businesses who've had a challenge getting their name and their content out and their to show that they're credible and their expertise. I mean, I think it's going to be a game changer for them. So we've got so many great businesses that need to get there and don't know how to communicate that information in a way that is appealing to our community today. You know what I mean? And so I think it's going to be super helpful. So I'm grateful and thank you. I'm excited about our partnership
Great.
for sure.
Same.
So, what are maybe some of the biggest misconceptions you might hear when business owners first hear the word AI?
Yeah. The thing I hear the most is that there seems to be there's one side that's intimidated and afraid of it, and then the other side is there's this oversimplification, meaning I have an associate that just says, well, you just give it to AI and you just push the button and it's fine, right? There's a little bit more to it, So the one misconception is that it's simple and easy, and all you got to do is just push buttons and things, magically appear. The other one is that the price of doing it, the cost, is out of range, and like you said, ROI is important. I mean, I mentioned a few $100s, but I mean, I said a few $100s a month because if it's a small local business, they might not need a lot, and just implementing a few things could really make a change. I mean, if you think about it, an answering service that someone uses, if they're paying for an answering service because they don't want their calls to be missed, but all that answering service is going to do is just take a message and then send it to someone who then has to deal with it.
Yep.
This is, it's a game changer. So just that alone would probably bring enough money back to where they could pay for the service, especially if, the voice AI can now make calls, answer questions, book appointments, all of those things. The ROI is not that big of a problem. So that's one of the biggest things, I think. And then time. People think it's going to take, a year or two to actually implement everything. Depending on the size of the company, it could take, if there's a solid long-term plan, like cybersecurity, for example. We're leaning into that more and learning more about it and partnering with some folks just to make sure that we have that available. Because the more AI gets, the more AI gets advanced, we have the nefarious people out there that want to do bad things with it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why everyone's afraid, and one of the reasons they're afraid. So we're leaning into that too.
They've written horror movies about it.
Yeah, for sure. And so those misconceptions. So it can be affordable. There is much more to it than just pushing buttons. So that's where the discovery, the audit comes in, and then a growth plan comes in.
Great. So you are working on a new project through the Executive Edge Partnership Group, which is a division of Omni AI Systems and Consulting. So I guess all of this kind of inspired that idea, right?
Yep.
So, so how will all of that really work for busy? How much time would a busy CEO really need to take to implement this particular program?
Good question. Actually, all we need is them to record their voice one time, maybe a couple minutes, and then be able to give us access, which will make real simple and easy, like a Google Drive, to upload documents or give us websites. All we really need is we need to know what the company's about, what they want to promote, and maybe they have like a series they want to do of 10 parts, and then we create those. But really, the amount of time that it would take for somebody to do this is simply uploading documents and giving us access to the information we need and giving us a couple minutes of their voice. And that is pretty much the amount of time. We take care of everything else.
You know, in order for a business to stay top of mind, you do need to be everywhere. And that's not easy if you're not using these types of tools to do that. So this is, again, a great time saver, and all content is straight from your own sources, right? And so it seems like a no-brainer, and it's something which I like to do because, you know, we write articles, we cut them down and use them for something else, cut them down and use them for, so we recycle things, repurpose things, and so I love that you can do that with this as well. And if you're not putting out consistent content, branded, you know, consistent messaging and all of that, there's just too much competition out there. So you really need to make sure that you're top of mind. So online, definitely, that's where people are nowadays. So even if you're a brick and mortar business, your online presence is so important. And I did a marketing consultation with a business yesterday, and you know, one of the things that we do is we look at and see like how efficient is their desktop versus their mobile. And people are, you know, listening to content, they're reading content on mobile, and their desktop was very desktop. Their website was very desktop efficient, but mobile was very low. And so, anyway, just to say that it's very important that for CEOs and for marketing companies to make sure that they are very digitally adept. So,
Yeah.
all right, we need to wind up here just for a second. Is there any last minute things that you want to say to businesses as we wrap up here?
Don't be afraid of the technology. If you work with the right people, they can do most of the work for you. Yeah, I would just say jump in and start learning.
Awesome. I think we will probably continue this conversation at another time as well. So, David, thank you for joining us. All of you, thank you for joining us on the Better Business Beat. I'm your host, Mechele Mills, and we will see you next week.